Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today we're going to be unboxing the NACON Revolution Unlimited Pro Controller. This is a PS4 controller, officially licensed. You guys might remember, if you cast your mind quite a while back to the original one, I picked up the very first NACON controller they released for the PS4 along with the Razer Raju. I did a little comparison at the time and I really liked the original model. There were a couple of things that I wasn't too keen on. There were a couple of initial gripes with the design, and it's kind of pleased me to say that it does seem they have addressed those in this new model. So today we're going to be unboxing this. We're going to be taking a look at the features, kind of giving you guys some initial impressions and just sort of seeing what it has to offer. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and also if you want a chance to win one of these. The awesome guys over at NACON very kindly provided us with another one to give to you guys, so if you want a chance to win it, then click the link in the description box down below and enter that giveaway for your chance to win. But let's not waste any more time, let's dive in and take a look at the controller. Now, starting off on the outside of the box, of course, we have the picture of the controller itself, the Revolution Unlimited Pro Controller. That is a bit of a mouthful, but it is a very nice looking controller. As you spin around, you can see some of the stuff that is included in the box, but we'll take a look at that as we dive in. But of course, in the back, there's also a breakdown of all the additional components. Don't forget that while this is functionally a PS4 controller, it does also have a ton of customization options. You can customize the analog sticks, you can customize the weight, you can customize the buttons, there are shortcut macro buttons. There's a lot of stuff to go through. So if we then dive inside and open up the box, the first thing you're greeted by is, of course, the actual case itself. The controller comes with this really nice hard shell case, so if you do want to carry it with you anywhere, if you want to go to a gaming session at a friend's house, then it actually has this nice carry case in, which not only holds all the components for it, but of course also keeps it protected at the same time. If we then dive inside, there's a cleaning cloth. Then at the top, you have this mesh netting, and inside that is the 3-meter long cable. We'll speak more about that in a moment. Of course, you then have the controller. Below that, you have the little box that contains the different weights inside. And below that, you also have the Bluetooth receiver if you want to use this in Wi-Fi. We'll touch on that again in just a moment. But firstly, turning our attention to the controller, this is incredibly comfortable to hold. I think for me personally, one of the reasons I always kind of set out to try and find another controller for my PS4 is just because I've never found the original traditional PS4 controller that comfortable. It feels a little bit small in my hands, and the triggers on it have never been that great. So I basically went on this quest when these controllers started coming out to try and find one, and back then when I picked up the original NACON one, it was very close to being what I essentially wanted from my third-party controller, albeit the cable not being great and the bumpers in the original ones not being perfect, but this one is definitely a massive step up. It feels incredibly comfortable. You've got this nice silicone feel to the top of it, so it feels nice in your hands. It's not that kind of cheap feeling plastic that, if you're kind of in a intense gaming session and you start getting sweaty, it's going to feel really weird. On the back, you've got these nice textured grips as well for your fingers, so that way you can kind of have that nice gripping point. You have these really nice analog sticks, and again, this is a big win for me. I've always been a fan of the staggered analog stick placement, much like it is on the Xbox controllers, the Nintendo Switch controllers. I've always preferred that. I appreciate that as a personal thing, but I've never really liked having both analog sticks down in the middle. It just feels uncomfortable for me to play. So that in itself is already a big win. It's also got these really nice big face buttons, so if ever you play fighting games and stuff, it's actually quite nice to play them with a controller like this. I've always found the face buttons on the traditional PS4 controller, the DualShock 4, to be not that great. Of course, in the center you've got this nice big touchpad, which is bigger than the traditional one on the DualShock 4. You have the share and the options buttons either side of that in these kind of vertical alignment. You have the PS4 button in the middle. You of course have the battery indicator, and then you have this D-pad, which is much more reminiscent of one you may find on an Xbox controller. So if you do try to kind of push the diagonals, it's a little bit easier to press them than it is say on a PS4 controller, because they are 4 different actual segments. They're both nice. They're both, the D-pad on the PS4 controller has always been pretty good, but this is actually quite nice. When you start rolling your thumb over it, it does actually feel pretty good. So if you play fighting games and use D-pads, then you might actually quite like this. However, turning our attention then to the triggers. Now, the triggers are one of the things that on the original NACON controller, I mentioned in my original video that I liked pretty much everything about the controller, but I did say the bumpers were probably the weakest point on them. The triggers definitely feel better this time around. The bumpers, again, are a little bit clicky, but to be honest, on pretty much every controller, bumpers tend to be the weak point anyway, unless it's the Nintendo Switch controller. But I will say these do feel like a big improvement. They do feel slightly more responsive. You kind of have that nice click to them. And the triggers, of course, you can also customize how sensitive these are, so they do actually feel really nice in hand. But if you then flip over to the back, you then get to see what makes this controller unique, because of course it also has a ton of functionality. You have different macro buttons behind each part of the controller, so there are 4 different buttons there that you can map to different things. Now, I'll be honest, I've never really been one myself to personally use the macro functionality, because I don't play things like Call of Duty where I need to try and drop shot or like jump shot or anything crazy like that. I've often kind of got these controllers more so just for comfort, form factor, and some of the other customization options. But if you do want to change some of the button functionality, you can of course jump onto the PC app or the Mac app as well, and you can then program these buttons. There are some built-in presets, but you can of course assign 4 different profiles, and you can then switch between these on the fly. There's of course a profile button on the back, so you can swap between them. You can switch between wired and wireless mode. So if you do want to use this, traditionally you would plug in the USB-C cable, you would plug it directly into your console. However, if you then want to use it wirelessly, there is a Bluetooth receiver inside the box, so you can then plug that in, switch it to wireless mode and connect it like that. There's then also a switch to switch between kind of conventional PS4 mode, the advanced mode and the PC mode. You have volume and mic adjustments, and you also have the ability to change the weight of the controller. On the back, you can slide these open, and inside the box comes 3 different sets of weights, 10 grams, 14 grams and 16 grams. You can then slide those into the handles of your controller if you want to have a bit more weight in your controller. And also, if you flip back to the front, you can also change the analog sticks as well. There are 2 concave and 2 convex analog stick heads. You can slide these off and clip on the new ones. Plus, you can also change the actual shaft of the analog stick. So if you want to give yourself a little bit more precision or, a little bit more flexibility in some games, you can actually adjust this accordingly, depending on how much wiggle room you want. Now, obviously, again, one of the other defining factors of the controller is the ability to create those different profiles. So you can download the app for your PC, for your Mac, and then there are loads of different things you can tweak in here. You can mess with the overall button mapping if you want to. You can change the response curve and dead zones for the left and right analog sticks. You can change the macro buttons on the back. You can change the trigger sensitivity. You can even change the way that the coloring around the right analog stick pulses. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and obviously that in itself would probably be a separate video, but as you can see, there is a lot of functionality with this controller. It's got a ton of different features, and honestly, I'm definitely very impressed. I mentioned before that my main 2 gripes from the original NACON PS4 controller were the cable, which I'm pleased to say they've now replaced with the USB-C cable, and was also the bumpers. I found like everything else on the controller was pretty solid. The analog sticks were great, the buttons were great, but the bumpers on the old one didn't feel too great, but these ones definitely feel a lot better. So there you have it, that's a rundown of the NACON Unlimited Revolution Pro controller. As mentioned, I am really liking it from like my initial time testing it. I do obviously want to kind of test this over a longer period of time. I do want to use this extensively for the next few months and just sort of see how it holds up. But I will say, as a fan of the original one, it's nice to see that they have, addressed some of the things that were kind of my main gripe points from it. So super comfortable, a very nicely made controller, and definitely something that I myself will be using going forward on my PS4. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Let me know if you have any questions about it, anything you would like to know. And of course, be sure to keep it locked for plenty more videos. Also, the reason I'm not in my chair today is because my cat stole my chair. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the Endgame store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the Endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.